And welcome back to the Motion Picture Rundown, the business side of entertainment. I'm Dustin Whitcomb. So glad to have you with us, whether you're watching a clip of this later or whether you are listening when these episodes are released, Tuesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. on anchor.fm/MPR-podcast, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. So glad to have you listening. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Something that I actually was originally going to talk about last week, I had a whole segment written about it, was talking about all these Avatar movies that we're still waiting on. Do you remember Avatar? It was a while ago. They had, let's see, Avatar, they've been waiting almost an entire decade to get these sequels for Avatar released. And there are a lot of sequels on the way. And apparently one of the reasons why it's taken so long is, according to Cinema Blend, a report that they just wrote, was that James Cameron got more and more involved with the written portion of the development of these sequels. And while it started, we knew that James Cameron had 2 sequels on the way, and that it was a planned trilogy. The more and more involved he got in the writing process, there were 2 additional films being made. It was originally going to be a trilogy, and now there's like 4 more films, making the total of 5 if they all get made. However, someone pointed this out over at Cinema Blend. Dirk Libby wrote that while James Cameron's original deal was made with 20th Century Fox, with the acquisition of 20th Century Fox by Disney, a deal that is expected to be closed by the end of the month, it's going to be Disney's decision, ultimately now, whether or not the other 2 sequels will happen. As of right now, it seems that decision has not been made. Disney CEO Bob Iger recently confirmed that the first 2 sequels are on the way and they've wrapped filming. The other 2 films have not been greenlit. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about last week was just this huge budget that was planned for all of these Avatar movies. If you look at the 4 sequels that they had planned out, this number kept getting circulated around to people who would talk about it and write about it, that there's like $1 billion set aside just for James Cameron to make Avatar. The idea being that these 4 sequels will each cost $250 million times 4. And so, but now with this piece of news, now with this acquisition that we talked about in week 1, this huge Disney and Fox merger that's going to happen this year, now Avatar 2, 3, and 4 are hanging in the balance here. And, you know, the entire reason why they have yet to greenlight those last 2, you know, additional movies, 3 and 4, is because they want to make sure that the first sequel still connects with an audience. Avatar is now the highest grossing film of all time, beating out James Cameron's Titanic. He beat his own record to become the number 1 movie at the box office of all time. And so, while he holds that record, it's important to understand why the last 2 movies haven't been greenlit yet. If I were Bob Iger, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd actually be reevaluating just how much you're spending on these movies, considering it's almost been a decade. And it's such a large amount of money. I mean, we talk about films that, you know, happily break the $500 million mark worldwide. When they make that much money, it's a huge accomplishment for a film, especially if it's a film like A Quiet Place. It didn't do $500 million, but it, considering its budget, it made a ton of money worldwide at the box office. That now sets itself up for sequels. But you talk about $1 billion. That's sort of what newer superhero character movies make now at the box office. When you're introducing a whole new movie superhero character into the mix and you're making a standalone film, that's sort of what they're aiming for, is that $1 billion mark. That's just the budget for all these Avatar sequels. And so there's a lot of money involved with these sequels. Even if it's $250 million for the first, each for 2 and 3, you're looking at Disney spending about $500,000 just on the production alone. That is not going to include P&A, publicity and advertising. It is not going to include any of the marketing strategies that they will be employing, for sure. And look, they have the money to spend. They bought Fox for how much? You know, if it is true that they set it aside, they set aside $1 billion for the Avatar franchise to begin with. But now with Bob Iger saying 3 and 4, you know, might not happen. Or I'm sorry, 4 and 5 might not happen. Those just have not been greenlit yet. He didn't give any doubt to them. He just said that they haven't been greenlit yet. For all we know, there are scheduling and financial conflicts in the way where they still need to negotiate all of that. Not to mention all the cast that's involved, all the crew that's involved. I'm sure James Cameron loves a certain crew that he works with. They seem to do well when they make a movie together. And, you know, in the Cinema Blend article, it points out, too, Avatar 2 is set to open in 2020. Avatar 3 will hit theaters in 2021. And Avatar 4 isn't expected until 2024. But if Disney does not want to wait that long to see all of these movies come out, it could make that call. And then it goes on to talk about the scheduling conflicts that I just mentioned. It'll be interesting to see what happens here with Fox and Disney merging and getting all of that sorted out. It has taken well over a year just to plan this merger, let alone actually carry this merger through between Disney and Fox. And certainly tentpole movies, that's an understatement to call Avatar this, by the way. But this Avatar franchise is a huge franchise. It is the #1 movie of all time at the box office. And so it is probably one of, if not the most important property in regards to movie releases that they're working with here in this merger. So it'll be interesting to see what details come out of this merger and what it means going forward for Disney and Fox. It's really interesting. I don't know. Would you see a sequel if it is almost a decade after the first one? We're about to find out because the date is closing in for Avatar 2, and Avatar 2 and 3 have wrapped filming, so I can't wait to see what James Cameron has to show for his decade worth of work on Avatar. All right. We'll be right back with more right after this.